live on YouTube, and listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, people of our distant past, our current present, and our aims of truth. Welcome to the World of Football podcast. For, as you can see, there's two of us because our short hair, going bald, fellow glasses wearing Albanian football expert that he claims is late. So it's just Scotland, Germany, Italy, and Wales present until he appears. He's now said, according to our WhatsApp group, he's just finishing work. So when Julio appears, guys, give him as much abuse as you want. You have my permission. But it is the two of us. It's 2 hours. No more, no less. 2 hours. We're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to talk some football. It's my show. It's my topics. Your enjoyment. Done. Joining me at the moment, of course, it is Nathan, who's in charge of our comments this evening. How are we?
I am very well. Role of reversal today, so really looking forward to it. I'm absolutely pooped. Cardiff are terrible. Wales are incredible.
Except the rugby team. We beat Australia.
You did.
You, on the other hand.
Well, in all fairness, I literally don't care about rugby at all. And just to rattle every single Welsh person, which I always love to do all the time, football is now the national sport. So we got a cracking show for you guys. Listen to us back on Spotify and bon appetit.
And speaking of international sport, Republic of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England have all been granted automatic Euro 2028 qualification. That was confirmed today. Republic of Ireland, however, sadly, you're going to have to go through the qualifying rounds.
I thought that was Northern Ireland.
Sorry, Northern Ireland, yes. Yeah. Northern Ireland. Yeah, you'll have to go through the qualifying rounds. Apparently, it's because of work on the main stadium, which I'm surprised Scotland have now been given automatic entry, because if you've seen Hampden Park, we should be in the qualifying stages. Unless we're actually investing money, then that's why we've got automatics.
Yeah, I have seen somewhere that there's going to be a redevelopment of it, because I think you guys want to pop it to 62,000, but unless they're going to close it for a few years, then I don't see how that's going to work. But that racetrack, the thing is, this is from an outsider point of view. Looking at, the racetrack ruins it. Like one of the world's most famous stadiums with its atmosphere. I know you've got it's one tier each side, but that gap is terrible.
It gives me old Stadio de Alpi vibes when Juventus used to play there.
Oh my god!
Before they got the Allianz Arena, it's such a big, massive track. It's horrible. It's wrong for football. So I completely agree. In the essence, it has to go. How they do it, don't know. I mean, theoretically, if they do close for 3 years, they could just smash the stands up and then just bring them forward and still expand. It's not really hard. We've seen that nowadays in football. I think, in
my opinion, the best example of it was what Real Sociedad did. So they had similar to what you had, and then they just demolished both sides of their stadium, brought it in really together, and that ground
the Real Arena is so beautiful.
It is.
It's on my bucket list actually go, but it's beautiful watching the games on TV. I'm going to say a hot take. The Real Arena has now eclipsed the Mestalla for me in terms of Spanish beauty. And I love the Mestalla. I love the Mestalla Stadium.
I've seen the place in person. Oh my god. Yeah, thoughts to everyone who was in Valencia as well. I was there this year, and I didn't think anywhere was going to eclipse it, but Valencia is now my favourite Spanish city that I've visited. Honestly, the place is just stunning.
We never actually addressed this because obviously when it happened, we only mentioned it briefly on the channel because we didn't really discuss the fact that we lost one of the football's own. Castillejo obviously passed away as well, but we didn't actually discuss the situation, and it's still ongoing apparently. Apparently the Spanish are still not yet to recover or figure it out, which is absolutely terrifying.
It absolutely is. I mean, the thing is, it's very much like another thing I'd like to get off my chest is thoughts to everyone in Pontypridd, Pontypool, and also Abergavenny as well, who've really suffered massively with more horrendous flooding, more houses right before Christmas as well. Obviously, I'm not going to put the blame game to some certain individuals yet again from the top who just refusing to sort it out, including Office Minister taking selfies with the flood as well instead of sorting it. Absolutely shocking. But that's a stream for another day, to be honest. But same scenario, similar.
It's an element where we are right now because the Spanish government have rallied in the army. The Spanish army, so it's not really much of a fight. They've rallied in the Spanish police to try and contain the savagery that is the incredible flood, and it has taken, I believe, nearly 200 lives.
Yeah,
it is
shocking.
In the kindest English-speaking format that you can get, it's a fucking joke.
Absolutely.
However, in a more beautiful language, a distant southern metropolitan type language that the Spanish have also been based on, all I like to say is rezo en el pache con amigos.
Beautiful.
Resto en el pache con amigos. Rest in peace, my friends.
Absolutely.
In Italian, but in strictest of manners, though, we're hoping that we turn it around. Moving on to the other side of land, so we're not underwater now; we're above it. Not a pun to you, Valetians. I love you guys. Thanks for giving the world David Villa and David Silva and Juan Mata. We do need to move on because tonight's a bit of an odd show. Now, if you look at our recent shows, or you look at any shows, there's normally recurring themes. We slag off how bad Manchester United are, because we have to. We slag off Liverpool because they're Scousers and it's warranted. We slag off Cardiff because their owner is a joke and their fans really don't care about the players. We slag off Rangers and Celtic because it makes sense. And
Celtic have Brendan Rodgers still in charge, so I think that takes a description of its own, you know.
But they've now turned it around, and I have to hatefully admit it. And we slag off Arsenal because it's Arsenal, and they really do like to take it around the back. But normally, our show would consist of another club, and we haven't had to discuss them in quite some time, which is mental. And that club is the other side of Merseyside, and that's Everton. Long story short, Everton, you're okay now. We don't need to slander you for a while because we have a new enemy on the World of Football podcast, and it's the whole thumbnail, which Nathan will now present on screen.
If I can remember. Nope, definitely not that.
He's a handsome bloke.
Oh, he is, right. Is that the one? Nope, that's the wrong button. I've completely forgotten how to use StreamYard, haven't I?
You just need to drop us out. Our new villain in town is Leicester City, or is it really Nottingham Forest? We have video evidence to suggest that it's still hilarious once I return to my previous position.
Fucking hell.
In colour, it is me without the hat on, as you can see, but literally, Leicester City. Fucking hell.
Wrong one. I was meant to put you full screen then. What is my control tonight? There we go.
I think we've all quite well established. Everyone on this channel doesn't particularly rate Steve Cooper that highly. But
except one surprising person who you wouldn't expect.
Yes. But the reality of the situation is there are no winners and there are no losers to this sacking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the no winners part is because this Leicester team really doesn't know what it's meant to be as an identity. It hasn't got a clue, because you've went from the pressing mixture of possession football that Enzo Maresca plays to the defensive, turgid, hoping to counter, be resilient style of Steve Cooper, and then get both of them completely lost.
On top of that as well, with Steve Cooper's style of play, comparing his last 3 jobs, the adapting to the league Steve Cooper tactics. Because let's take it into consideration. When he joined Swansea, he basically took the Swansea way, or whatever that nonsense is. I'll always say it
doesn't work. I'm trying to use the force to get back into my position, but it's not working.
Oh yeah. Go on, one more time. I completely missed that then. There
Carry
we go.
on, sir.
Yeah, so when he joined Swansea, he turned them from this hipster side that everyone knows about, taking the Swansea way, which everyone knows I think is complete nonsense anyway. They do try and fit with this hipster identity, but I just think it's a load of rubbish, to be honest. He takes that and tries to make them more direct, which actually worked and was Steve Cooper's best style of play out of any club. He had a ridiculous squad at the time as well, may I add, but A, fails to get them up, which I don't really think was particularly his fault, mainly because of that playoff final as well. And on top of that as well, he was forced out of the fans because of the style of play, which I think was absolutely ludicrous, because he probably played the best football because he fit with their mindset, and B, also made them direct, which no manager ever does there, let's be fair. Goes to Nottingham Forest, gets them up nicely, adapts to the Championship perfectly, goes direct. He basically ports over what they tried to do. But when he got to the Premier League, he tried to adapt to it. Counter-attacking, sitting back, just hoping for the break, which we did see a lot the season before, but it just doesn't work at Premier League level the way that Cooper tries to facilitate it. Ends up getting sacked, which I did think was unfair by Marinakis, but turned out to be a stroke of genius in the end, after he did keep them up, which was a hard stroke.
Literally.
Comes into Leicester. Obviously, Maresca goes really late into the window. Leicester rush and panic appoint Cooper, which at the end of the day didn't really improve on their squad. Lost Dewsbury Hall, been unlucky with injuries, but it's a team where they've got worse since last season with the quality in their squad hugely. He tries to adapt to the league again, but this time completely throwing his eggs into one basket, thinking, okay, counter-attacking, sitting back's and just lumping balls up to Jamie Vardy's going to work. Gets completely found out, works for a little bit, keeps him out of the relegation zone, and then the owner just goes, nope, you're out.
Literally.
Just catch-22 City with this sacking. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. And there's your no winners part. Now, why did I say no losers? Well, I'm going to be very specific to you. Whoever gets into that job, I think the right person for them, to be honest, is probably Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter who takes the Leicester job, because at the moment you can't give someone the job until you actually know what the main direction of the club is meant to be. Do you want to play expansive attacking football, or do you want to play defensive style football and preserve your league position? I think Leicester smartly should probably go for defensive. Hopefully it will maintain position, and then they'll climb up the league, and then maybe they'll develop into a team that will look to expand. Whereas the excitement is they go for someone who will want to play from the beginning, who will want to play front foot, who might suit these players a lot more comfortably. It's just, does he have the time?
Yeah.
So, even though I think the best choice for them to go for is Van Nistelrooy, from the latter thing, I think they should play it safe, play it smart, and get David Moyes until the end of the season.
I can completely back that, because let's face it, with David Moyes, Sunderland that job was an absolute disaster. But everyone knows the reason why. Signing absolute dross, it was coming, and also just the ridiculous wage bill of players that weren't even championship level. Like, they were signing League One players. No Jermaine Defoe, no Fret, ends up getting double relegated. Not his fault at all. Obviously, West Ham had a decent squad, very similar to Leicester, by the way.
Yep.
Uses the star players, keeps them up nicely, and builds from there. For me, what the best thing that Leicester can do is model what Bournemouth did a few seasons back. Scott Parker obviously takes them up. Style of play was never going to work in the Premier League. Gets sacked very quickly, which is what Irish Shrivedhana Prava has done very, very swiftly here. Even though I agreed a lot with getting rid of Parker a couple of years back. I'm 50-50 and skeptical on this one. But when you bring a squad up where the style, it's a bit of a different scenario with obviously the managerial situation. But when you have a squad that has concerns staying up and you just need to keep them there, then sacking early and getting in a firefighter just till the end of the season and then reassessing, and then obviously using the money that has kept you up to build from there and establish through, like Forest have done it, but they did it fully.
It's
just getting over the line.
Telling. Yeah, it is tricky though for Leicester in this way now though, because when you look at it, and this is no disrespect to Leicester in any way, so if any fan gets insulted by this, just remember that United aren't in the best position either about what I'm about to say, so I'm not going to be hypocritical here. But right now, Leicester don't look like an attractive option. Now, they've got a fantastic training ground, and they've got some really good players there, but they don't look exciting. And I think that's scary. When you look at the quality players they've got, they look like Palace.
Yeah.
And not Glasner first 10 games Palace, this current Palace. It just doesn't look right. It's removing the keys and they don't know what to do with it. And I think the reality is going to come back and bite them. And I don't think they have enough. They might very well stay up. They're not exactly in the relegation zone right now. But they could end up getting there. And I think obviously the Leicester fans are happy because Agent Forrest, as they've called Steve Clark once before, they've now called Steve Cooper Agent Forrest. It gives them that element. Now, they're free from him, but nobody seems to care. Like, ironically, the one fan base Leicester fans were trying to trigger aren't biting the bullet. They're not caring that Steve Cooper got sacked from Leicester because, quite frankly, they're already enjoying being in the top 6, top 7. Like, they don't care. Like, it's quite funny in a way.
The thing is, for me as well, it's roles reversed of what's happened over the last 10 years. Like, they didn't care when Forest were going through basically 2 managers every single season for year after year. And Leicester just fighting up the top in Europe. It's just complete roles reversed. Like, Forest obviously grafting out to stay in the Premier League. Leicester having that shocking season where they just sacked Brenda way too late. And then obviously they come back up. Leicester are in a dire situation and Forest have established well. At the end of the day, why do they care? Like, I know I'm going to bring Coventry into this, and especially since they got back to the Championship, their fans have just been some of the most unbearable I've ever seen, trying to force rivalries with everyone. I know you can literally throw a stone and you'll hit Leicester, but I'm sorry, Leicester don't care about Coventry. They need to stop forcing a rivalry there. I know it's everything between Leicester and Forest, but Forest have got Derby to worry about more and laugh at more and have more to laugh at. And they're just living their life well. But when you consider the role of it, it's just funny. And I don't see where Leicester go from here, to be honest. I know we said David Moyes, but they got to get established. And with that squad, injuries, they've set themselves in a really bad position. And I wouldn't want to be a Leicester fan at the moment this season. You got everyone around you laughing at you. Threat of relegation. If you go down the EFL, you're going to sting you as well. Points deductions and everything still if it goes through. And Not good. Really not good.
Yeah, and I look at this squad as well, and to be fair, it does have some quality that maybe you could build a squad around, and you can do a lot better, but I don't think it just needs investment. It needs to be looked at in a serious manner. Now, I'm not a Leicester fan, so quite frankly, I don't know what they want. But for me, what they really do need is to tell Jamie Vardy to take his wife and fuck off, because he's finished.
He is.
Yes,
I mean,
whether they admit it or not, in fact, whether they want to admit it or not, he is finished.
For me, they don't want to admit it mainly because A, of what he's done, B, being pretty much one of their greatest players of all time, and C, because he's still scoring goals. Yet, he's fit. Yeah, you're starting him every single game as club captain, but at the end of the day, use him as an impact player. Like, you've had so many chances to phase him out over time. Like, I know the Iheanacho signing was a disaster, for example. Daka started with a house on fire, then just completely burnt out. But just the refusal of it is just ridiculous.
It's criminal behaviour from Leicester. It is criminal. You better hurry your ass up, boy. But yes, it'll be good to see you very soon. We are going to be sticking around for Leicester for a while because, quite frankly, Leicester's next run of games don't pose them well either. And when you look at it, motivation is the key. Who will get them motivated? There's another weird option they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if he's got any coaching badges.
I'm intrigued. Go for it.
They could put Jamie Vardy as player manager for a little while.
That's bold and insane.
Only reason, because like you said, what if they can't find anyone right now? What if there's because they don't have a clue what to do and they have no other option. I don't know if he has coaching badges though, that's the only thing. But I think they do need to look at something. They need something. They need to go a bit bold. It's either they get Van Nistelrooy and they go for the expansive enjoyment, or they go for David Moyes, which is reliable and orchestrated.
But then obviously reassess it in the summer, because they need to model Bournemouth and Forest the last couple of years of how they stayed up. First time I've asked him when.
I think they need to go one step further.
Go for it.
I think they need to look at Palace.
Yeah.
Maybe they get an experience. Maybe they go for an experienced head. Maybe Leicester ask Roy Hodgson to come out of retirement.
Could potentially do it.
Actually, there is one name. It would be really funny because it goes against everything I stand for. They could give the job to Neil Warnock.
To be fair,
it goes against everything I stand for, but it would be absolutely funny because I've got no time for dinosaurs in football.
It would be funny as well, and not only that, Neil Warnock is due a job where he keeps a Premier League club up. I know he's 75 now, and obviously working his way to retirement, but
he thinks he's still 40, fighting in the Gulf War. So he's all right.
Yeah, he absolutely does, with long balls straight up to Jamie Vardy. But at the end of the day, with the system that Cooper was trying to play, and the formation, which was completely anti-Cooper. Like, whenever I think of Steve Cooper, I think of a 5 at the back with overlapping wing-backs.
Yep.
He tries to play 4-3-3 with Leicester. Talk about adapting to the league or what. Warnock always loves a 4-3-3 all of the time. We saw it pretty much how it worked amazingly at Cardiff. Pretty much all he needed. Our back four was the best in the league. If, say, for example, Zahor, Mendes, Lionel Hoylett, one of them had to be on fire and win the game. Simple. Yeah. That is literally all he needs at Leicester. Get that back line sorted. Hope for Vardy just to be on fire, or McAtee, or whatever. If one of them can be scoring, done. He'll keep them up. And then he could depart in the summer. They can regroup. and then they can build like Forest or Leicester when they can invest.
He is
That's
the player
the-
that I think
that's
they
a
should
good
build their
shout.
team around, though. He is the player I think they should build their team around, though. McAtee.
100%. He's a baller.
I think the smart thing for them though as well is they've got the bigger financial muscle.
Yeah.
In January, they should try and maybe snap up someone like a Delap.
If they can afford it.
Well, apparently Evan Ferguson's on loan in January, but he's shite.
To
Actually,
be
no.
f- I was
he is
shocked when I
shite,
saw
so
that.
Leicester can get him. I think he's finished already. Eh? I don't rate him. I don't rate him at all.
The thing is with Evan Ferguson, I think he had so much hype around him way too early. Like when he
He scored
started banging
5
goals
goals
in for
and-
Brighton, he was like, everyone was straight onto him.
He
But at the
scores
end of the
5
day-
goals and he's worth 70 million quid. I was like, behave.
I know. At the end of the day, that's what happens when you put too much pressure on a young player. They just crumble.
Mhm.
And it's
think as
happened to
well-
Evan Ferguson there, straight up.
Another thing which is they have done it. If they do get an experienced head, after
Yeah.
that, just do what Brighton did. Get a very young, interesting manager. Because you look at the 2 youngest managers in the league now. One of them's at Brighton, the other's at Man United.
Mhm.
Young managers, but actually understand their worth, know what they're capable of, know what they can do, and they're now in very contrasting but important jobs.
And on top of that as well, the thing that Leicester need with a young manager is that they've got a bit of backing behind them. So, for example, what's his name? Hutzler had that St. Pauli. That really good St. Pauli run. If they can get a manager like that, then they should be on their way.
Sebastian Hoeneß at Stuttgart would be an interesting one.
That would be, but would he leave Stuttgart? That's the problem. For me.
I don't know. Maybe
Go
not.
from
There's a lot.
I know
there's a lot
they
of
were
good
in
managers
Bundesliga
out
Zwei a few seasons ago, but taking a Champions League manager to go to Leicester, I mean, and I know I'm going to get heat for this. Leicester are not a bigger club than Stuttgart.
Oh, no, they're
Absolutely not.
not. Stuttgart have more trophies
100%.
and a bigger fan base and a bigger
Much
European
bigger.
pedigree. It just depends on what they want. That's the only thing. Is whatever they want,
Yeah.
they have to really consider it. If they don't figure that out, then I don't know where they're going.
I completely agree, mate.
And that's what confuses me a lot about Leicester. They're just a confusing football club.
Yeah. I think that is a lack of direction with the owners as well. And you'll hear it from Leicester fans. There's just there's no direction. They're not as ruthless as they obviously we obviously know the reason for that. But what they used to have is this is obviously before the accident happened.
Yep.
Owner was ruthless. You lose 6 games in a row, you're out. Straight up.
Exactly.
Next manager comes in, long-term thinking, bingo. Now, keeping managers for way too long, not making the right appointments, no long-term vision, is season by season, month by month. And yeah, it just doesn't work.
Exactly.
And it's been done pretty badly as well.
And that's the scary thing. Because it's been done so badly, is that they haven't prepared in any shape or form to respond.
Yeah.
And if you can't respond, what do you do in response? I don't think they know. I think that's unfortunate. That is the scary thing. If you don't know how to respond, you're going nowhere.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I don't think Leicester know what they're doing.
The thing is, they won't know what they're doing until they get everyone around the table, really strong director of football in, make a long-term strategy, sort out this season, get to the end of it, they will be fine. Because at the end of the day, they got the tools to do it. They're one of the, and I will say it, they are one of the biggest clubs in the country, mainly because of fan base. I don't know whether that's because of where they're located, where they're just so close to everyone that they can sell out like that, like away games, massive season ticket waiting list, etc.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Something needs to be done. Like, that's the thing people got to remember. They claim they sell out every single away game. But the problem is, look at how close they are to everyone. Like, they are the luckiest club in regards to that in the country.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, I'm jealous. Like, imagine that. You drive 20 minutes and you're at an away game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is mental. Like, it is mental that they have that luxury.
And that's the thing, they use it well. Their owners need to see that as well, because at the end of the day, if they manage to Sunderland, a Cardiff, a Plymouth, or someone like that, they don't have their luxury. They just got to rely on their fans back in the team. Because of this, they pack it out every week. They got a small stadium. I know they want to expand, etc., but use it to your advantage, like you did years ago, and you did it so well as well. Just need to use their brains really badly.
If only. That's the reality. Is they don't know where they're going.
Yep.
They don't listen to their fans. They've got the direction of Disney, and they're just wasting valuable resources.
Completely agree.
So many dangers, and yet I do see positives. Like, I do see the odd positive, and the odd positive is they can turn it around. They're not entirely relegated.
And not only that as well, there are worse squads than them in the league. I mean, not by much, but it just needs work. Work and fine tuning.
Yeah. Davy Moyes.
There you go.
Speaking of Leicester, actually. When was the last time you think they had a good performance?
Probably in the Championship. Under Maresca. I don't remember him playing well under Cooper. It was just firefighting wins.
Because that says it all for me.
Yeah.
What if this squad is purely Championship and it doesn't know the meaning of the word Premier League?
I think that's a possibility, because I remember when they did go up as champions last season, there was like, oh, Leicester are going to walk the league, etc. But when you actually, this is just neutrals. When you actually hear it from Leicester fans, they really had their concerns. Squad depth's not good enough. Style of play is a bit questionable. Players are inconsistent. Lack of direction. Everyone just took a blind eye because of how valuable the squad was.
Yeah.
I know it was less valuable than Southampton, but Southampton are just a meme under their manager. But at the end of the day, they had all these concerns, yet did nothing with them. And obviously, they got really unlucky, because what Maresca had built over the year was very quickly rushed away, and then they had to rush to firefight Steve Cooper in, which, with what the Leicester owners have now seen, in hindsight was a terrible decision, because you're having to pay off his contract. After, 3 months, if that? Maybe less?
3 months, yeah.
Shocking.
And they've still got financial fair play, I think, hanging over their heads.
They do. But I'm not sure. I believe they've been cleared with the Premier League. Less so with the EFL if they get relegated, which is pretty dangerous. Because I know the EFL were out to have them for breakfast, you see. Mind the EFL are ridiculously strict anyway. Premier League, you just get a slap on the wrist at the end of the day. Unless you're Everton or Nottingham Forest from last season. Before that, I'd say all clubs, but they are starting to tighten up now, which we'll get onto in a bit. But yeah, if they go down, they're going to be absolutely hit. And they won't be coming back up anytime soon.
No, I agree. And when they go back down, that's them.
Yeah.
You can forget big stadiums, sellouts in the Premier League. Not a chance.
Yeah, they'll be like Sunderland, 40k seat stadium when they finish the expansion in the Championship, stuck there, selling out every week, but just getting nowhere.
Yep, and it'll have to be cheap tickets because they won't be able to afford the expensive ones to get into the Premier League, because that's when they can then afford the expansion. They can then afford the bigger value, but they can't do it.
Absolutely.
And I don't think their squad has got any sellable assets either, when you look at it, if they have to.
That's the problem. It's either really young or really old. Cough, cough, Vardy.
Yeah.
Like, McAtee's decent, but like there's a bit of value there, but it's just the rest of the squad. Mavadidi you can get a bit of money for. Fasawu injured, so you can't really comment on him. Harry Winks is just just a Premier League squad depth player for me. You're talking 10 million, 5 million max. Like, I'd probably say you could get most of their squads between 5 to 15 million max. And if that, Fasawu, Mavadidi, outliers, but you're going to be lucky at this point.
It's just trouble waiting to happen even more for them.
Oh, 100%. No.
I think what else I want to say about them, because quite frankly, everyone I thought about covered.
Yeah. I think the main scope is they're just terrible and they need to get their stuff sorted.
Yeah. I'm sure Julio will want to talk about Leicester when he gets here, but we won't. We'll move on. Okay. Financial crackdowns. Now, this ironically stems from what was seen from the Premier League this week.
Yeah.
Well, actually, scrap that. Last week, regarding Manchester City, who have lost a battle with the Premier League regarding outside investment. Now, ironically, certain clubs back them up here. The likes of your Aston Villa and your Nottingham Forest.
And we all know the reason for that as well.
Multiple club ownership.
Yep, and they're doing it on a much less smaller scale.
Exactly.
Especially with the funding as well into them.
And of course, Manchester City lost.
Yep.
Newcastle also backed this, which makes no sense. They don't own any other clubs. They're not even involved in other sister club networks. Just because they're owned by Saudi doesn't mean they actually own any clubs. They don't.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's bizarre with Newcastle because surely that they'd want them to be heavily stung. That gives them a more competitive approach in the Premier League.
Newcastle as well. Obviously, their fans love to claim that Man United fans live rent-free in Newcastle's heads when it's the other way around, because we opposed it because we have self-sustaining revenue, just like Arsenal do, just like Chelsea. But Newcastle fans came out and said, well, why are Man United and Arsenal fans against this? And because we can actually afford to compete with our revenue. We don't need all the outside investment. Obviously, Newcastle fans don't like the truth, so they resort to what they do best. They resort to the epitomal insultation.
Yeah.
You wonder why no one likes your football club anyway. But it does make an interesting point, And the interesting point is this: how much more crackdowns does the governing bodies need to have on these football clubs?
Mhm.
Specifically, their owners of multi-clubs.
Yeah.
In a way, it's also similar to United. United do have a multi-club owner,
Mhm.
but you can see they're actually trying to focus on one club, whereas the rest of them don't. So how are they going to crack on that? What do you reckon? What actually does need to happen with governing bodies and their owners of multi-clubs?
It's really hard to say because I'm going to be labelled as a hypocrite if I go against anything with multi-club ownership, because Vincent Tan at Cardiff has used it. Because when we had a transfer, prime example, transfer embargo back in, when was it, 15-16?
Yes.
Tan owns former Champions League side Sarajevo, who he's basically killed at this point, biggest club in Bosnia, and now they're just not qualified for European football. Absolutely shocking when they win an elite title all the time. And he also owned KV Kortrijk in Belgium. Obviously, Cardiff City are the biggest club out of them all, but at the end of the day, when we had the transfer embargo, he was signing players to KV Kortrijk, where the restrictions on transfers were relaxed, breaking their club signing records, and then just pinging them straight to us. I mean,
it's punishment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. At the end of the day, that's the thing we've gone.
What was it? Oh, that was right. Yeah, lads, what days are you available this week? Yeah, pretty much every day this week. I'm sure free. How about Tuesday 8 o'clock? Yeah, sure. 8:57. Shocking behaviour, son.
I mean, I've been here. Hello. I've been backstage for like 5 minutes.
If anything, I'm backstage. I can't view it.
I mean, I can't help but work overruns, so I couldn't do a kneel from the in-betweeners and just leave.
Nathan, outrageous take number 1.
Oh, where is it?
Fucking hell.
The only thing I've got to say about that is, given what Reece has been putting as his shorts and TikTok and that recently, I'm surprised there was no headband in it, because that's what we've been seeing for the last week. So I'm glad to see Reece doing just a clip of Reece not wearing the actual headband. Also, are Bayern playing in an Oktoberfest kit or third kit at home?
I think they might be.
Yeah, they're home.
I did see something about it on Twitter.
For what?
They were going to do it.
Bayern Munich, they're not playing in their home kit, and they're playing at home against PSG.
It's European regulations. You're required to play a certain amount of games in your third kit or away kit.
Really?
Yeah, it's a European regulation. Yeah.
No. I mean, the third kit was initially denied as the European kit anyway, so that makes total sense. I didn't realize. Is it a recent rule, or has it always been a case? But
it's been
clubs
around
have managed to.
Ooh, really? I'm not going to say much, but there's been some very interesting games tonight. Like, for example, Arsenal scoring 3 in the first half against Sporting Lisbon.
Ooh.
I didn't click on that game because I didn't think it'd be interesting. I didn't even check the results.
Atletico Madrid won 6-0 in Prague. Milan won 3-2 in Bratislava. Bayer Leverkusen are winning 3-0. Barcelona are only beating Brest by 1-0. That's nice. Atlanta 4-1 up at half time. Inter Milan.
Against who?
Young boys.
And
Inter Milan are beating Leipzig 1-0 at half time. Manchester City are beating Feyenoord 1-0 at half time. So their run may be coming to an end of losing 5 in a row.
Temporarily.
Like. Yes. Championship results: Sheffield United are beating Oxford United 3-0. Sunderland are drawn with West Bromwich Stripper 0-0. Watford are winning 1-0 against Bristol City, so Nathan will be happy. Stoke and Preston 0-0. Sheffield Wednesday are beating Hull City 1-0. Burnley are beating everyone's favourite enemy, Coventry 1-0. And the ultimate stripper FC, Norwich are beating Plymouth 3-1. So Rooney probably getting the sack soon. And Adam can get his apparent coaching Hoyland in the Championship plan.
I mean,
which will
I
never happen.
disagree with.
Oh,
I
Aberdeen.
disagree
are
with
beating
Rooney
Hibs.
getting sacked, but
Hibs are beating Aberdeen 1-0 as well. Bad for Hearts fans who
change to the
apparently
Championship.
Hearts fans will be out there crying that
Screw it,
their
why not?
nearly relegated team are still below their green shitty rivals. But I'm not advocating for Rooney to be sacked. I'm just expecting it.
I think it's a given at this point. I mean, Plymouth were insane at home, terrible away, but they're in a relegation threat at the moment.
He can't coach.
But we expect nothing. No, but the thing is, we don't expect anything more. I think if they're good at home, then that's good, because if you're a team battling at the bottom, you got to pick. You want to be doing anything to pick up points, and Rooney's gone into an environment where it's basically the world against them in a way in terms of expectation. And even though Liam Rosenior was kind of the brains behind the operation at Derby, Rooney still did well in that Derby role. And I think if he's gone into a club and made them difficult to beat at home, we've seen Tony Pulis talk about it on podcasts recently, that he got promoted with Stoke, who everyone tipped to go down. And, Pulis calls up Sir Alex and goes, what do I do? And Sir Alex goes, make the Britannia somewhere where no one wants to go. And I'm not saying it's the same thing, because, if everyone's looking at Plymouth, they're probably going, want to go there, 3 points, etc. But if you're Wayne Rooney and you want to pick up points where you can, if you're making home a fortress to an extent, I mean, they're in 20th. They've got Cardiff City, Portsmouth, QPR, and Hull City below them. Cardiff, who had probably higher expectations this season. Hull, who were doing well under Rosenior, moved him on, hoping to progress further, and that decision doesn't look so great now, does it?
Shocking.
Portsmouth, newly promoted. QPR, similar position to what they were this time last year. I am surprised they didn't kick on under Cifuentes, but they are where they are. And then who have you got just above them? Preston, Oxford, Coventry, Luton, and Michael Laudrup's ex-club, so the Hipsters. So there's a lot of poor teams around them, and I think Rooney won't care. Rooney will just look at the fact that I'm getting my team points, and if at the end of the season, terrible away, but I'm good at home, if that keeps me up, it keeps me up.
He needs to hope it keeps him up, because it is a big,
of course,
big thing to cope with, and we've already seen it so far. In that type of pressure, he hasn't achieved it. That's hard for him. He has to try and show it this season. If he doesn't, the whole ideas of him being a manager, they die.
Yeah, I think what this will do, if he does keep them up consecutively, so if he stays another season and keeps them up again, I think it will do wonders for his reputation, because obviously it was an all-time low when he took the job. And I just think that from what he did at Derby, he was kind of wrongly labelled in a way, because people saw him as a good young manager after the Derby stint. Obviously went to DC, it was a bit of a weird job that.
DC was terrible.
The worst
But
statistic.
it was terrible, but it was a weird decision for me.
Yeah.
It was a weird decision for me to go there in the first place.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's because he had history there, for me.
Yeah,
I think he went there thinking. I think he went there purposely thinking this would be easy.
Yeah.
I think he went there with that mentality. He thought it because it's the MLS. He's played there. He thought, you know what, lads, this will be easy, and he got found out with his 13% win rate.
Even though on top of that, they do have Levin and Kaplan as owners, though.
Exactly.
But yeah, do you know what? I think Rooney can rightly be labelled a fireman. That kind of manager.
You can take the Leicester job in that case if he wants to put that fire out.
Well, no. I think that's just more of a forest fire than an actual fire down at Plymouth, for instance. But yeah, no. I think Rooney might be that kind of Big Sam of the Championship. Maybe who knows? He goes into smaller clubs, limited budgets, and it gets them playing, gets them working. So we'll see what happens. I am curious to see how it. I'm curious to see how it pans out. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Did you have anything you wanted to say about Leicester before we dive into more into the financial crackdowns?
Yeah. So I'm not surprised by the sacking. I think we've heard the rumors for over a month now that this was going to happen probably, and I think the last show we had, we discussed it where we basically said that. Well, we basically discussed the fact that Steve Cooper's gone into a primarily possession-based side. The recruitment hasn't really been great, especially I think his style of play. It's more pragmatic, I think, than what Maresca was used to in this, and so you got to take your chances when you get them. So obviously you need good players to do that. Now obviously they've lost Fatawu to I think a long-term injury.
Yeah.
Which isn't
right.
good. He was one of
the
their better
season.
players last season. Yeah. And when you're getting into Palace rejects in Jordan Ayew and Odsonne Edouard,
Yes.
you're not, especially when you're bringing them in to maybe help supply some goals with Jamie Vardy. But no, they're not. I said it on the last show. Edouard has flattered to deceive since he's been in the Premier League. He was great at Celtic, looked great on his debut, Palace, and then was never seen again. And then Jordan Ayew would chip in with about 6 or 7 goals a season, but
it's not enough.
He's not a striker. He was more of a versatile forward who could operate better on the wing.
Yeah,
he's just an Olympic sprinter trying to be a footballer.
Yeah. So I'm really. Cooper getting the sack. We've called it for a good while now, and we did suggest him for the Cardiff job. So I bloody hope Vincent Tan gets his checkbook out.
Completely agree there.
Because I think Steve Cooper will be a brilliant appointment for Cardiff. I don't think Cardiff fans will care too much about his links to Swansea because of the fact that Swansea fans are very divided about him.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, his dad's a Cardiff fan, so
yeah.
And he's always spoken of us highly.
I've had arguments with Swansea fans on Twitter about Steve Cooper, and they've literally said to me about, like, this one bloke, he was talking about how he preferred Russell Martin to Steve Cooper. I was like, yeah, but Martin didn't get you playoffs with a squad that
got
should
you
have
mid-table twice.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And the guy was like, no, but the football was nicer. But I was like, you play to win, don't you? You play to win. You play to get promoted.
But that's the thing, down west they don't.
The banner, Nathan.
Exactly.
The banner, Nathan. The appropriate banner.
Oh, I don't even have it.
I'll have to take the reins on this.
I don't know why you keep saying that, Reece, because you're always advocating for the hipsters and Michael Laudrup a lot.
But that's because Michael Laudrup was once one of the best footballers to ever grace the game. There's a difference.
You mean you're just sexually attracted to Michael Laudrup? Okay, Reece.
It's a known fact he was one of the best footballers to ever grace the game, you fanny. And it's just common sense. They actually had a manager that actually wanted to play good football, and they backed out on him.
And he won him a trophy.
Yeah, Swansea the last time Swansea looked good as a football team was 2012.
Yeah.
Anything after that, they've not looked good. Ever since they got rid of Michael Laudrup, they've been irrelevant.
Yeah.
Simple facts. If you're not in this sport to win,
the good phase here and there, but nothing.
Nothing consistently good.
Yeah,
if you're not in this sport to
nothing
win,
relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. If you're not in this sport to win, go and play something like badminton, or go and watch
the MLS.
No, it's going to be kinder than that. Go and watch Scott McTominay try to be a real footballer. That's another option. But it does get back to one point, and it was leading up to financial crackdowns. And this is the thing we were talking about earlier on. What is it that these governing bodies have to do? Because we know that some clubs are going to get away with their means of money. We know some clubs are using any means they can to hide money. But the worst thing is you've got governing bodies who will actually crack on it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some that will try to get in on it. And then there's some who will completely deny its existence. Now, I think we all know which one Manchester City is on. They are like the common ground for these sort of discussions. Manchester City is always, eventually someone's going to get to them. This has been going on for years. Someone's going to crack it.
Yeah.
It's 2024 for the best part of another 6 weeks. 2025 and beyond, does anyone care anymore? I don't. I don't. Like, I'm not getting grey hairs over Man City's 120 charges or whatever it is now. Like, because end of the day, nothing's going to change. For me, if you really want to stamp on an issue, you have to go for the clubs that actually really do hide it. So you have to start with the most obvious. You've got to start with Everton. Because
Like that, the way their finances have been run, oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been through it many a time on this channel.
Exactly, and
Car crash.
we did wind them up at the start. Well, we did not wind them up at the start, but we did wind into them at the very beginning of the show with the usual enemies of the channel. They are an enemy of the channel, Everton, but they do present the argument of they're badly run, but they are still continuing to be allowed the TV and Premier League revenue, even though they can't justify their own annual incomes to stay away from serious debt. And I think that needs to be a condition of the Premier League TV money.
Yeah.
If you cannot prove for going forward, and I won't be hypocritical. Manchester United are over 1.5 billion in debt, so I'm actually going to make a fair point here. Any club, regardless of their annual revenue, if they cannot get within, say 400 million debt, so United have still got 1.1 billion to clear. But say you cannot get within, say, 100 to 400 million pounds worth of debt, because every club in some capacity is going to have debt, right? Even the Premier League clubs, they can try and deny it, they can't. Any club who cannot get within 100 to 400 million should be slashed at least more than a half of the TV money they make from the Premier League every season until they get their debts in order.
Would that be, though, to offset their debts, or would that just be robbery from the Premier League?
No. For me, purely, the Premier League should then invest the money back into something else that matters, like actually improving their shitty product, like referees, and actually helping with communities that are struggling. And instead, you give more money to the clubs that are actually within the debt requirements. If you're nowhere near the requirement, fuck them over.
I can see where you're coming from there, but what happens if you have a really stubborn or bad owner that just is like, right, fine, I'll kill the club?
At that point,
you do have a few of those.
Absolutely. In that case, then the Premier League owners' means test should then be reaffirmed and reevaluated, and these owners should then be mated in Abramovich, be made to sell the club to someone who actually will invest, who actually has who actually does care about the club itself. Someone who did actually care about his club was made to sell it.
Yeah.
Owners that don't care about their clubs are allowed to stay here. I think that's what's wrong with the Premier League. But for me, like massive revenues. If you're not in, maybe 400 million is a bit extreme. Maybe 450, 500, but no more than that. If your debts exceed that, you should be more than a half of your TV revenue that you get from the Premier League should be cut. And I'm the same as a Man United fan. I am holding Man United to the same standard here because we are in shitload of debt. If we cannot get to that debt, regardless for annual revenue, whatever, if we can't do that, or the owners don't pay to clear it off, then slash our TV revenue. Same with Liverpool, same with Arsenal, same with Chelsea, Newcastle, because they can't prove their revenue either, even though their fans try and claim it, the barcode clowns. Like, it needs to be done, and I think it would actually prove how serious it is about financial mismanagement, and that is a method of crackdown. What else have we got, lads?
I mean, I've always said that since the Premier League deal came into effect 2016, obviously the money came, I think primarily the money came in 2017. Like, you really started to see, Sunderland score. Offside, apparently. But yeah, like we saw in 2017, we saw 4 or 5 of the big 6 sign a forward player. I think 4 of them were strikers. You know, we signed Reece's favourite player, Lukaku. Chelsea signed my favourite player, Morata. Spurs signed Llorente, obviously to a lesser scale, obviously on the fee. Arsenal signed Lacazette, and then 6 months later could like spunk 50-odd million on Aubameyang. That's 90 million pound on 2 strikers.
It's the best little spunk.
That turned out to be absolute flops in the end as well.
Well, Aubameyang did the business for a couple of years. I think half the time he was there, he actually did quite well. I think 2.5 years he was really good, and then the rest of it, he was just he signed the team, and then he just seemed to lose interest.
Aubameyang realised that Arteta's a pussy, so he's like, you know what? I'll sign the extra money, which will force him not to play me. I'll keep making this money and show that I don't care when he shows no care at all in the club. Pure genius. Milan taught him well.
But yeah, like what we're seeing now weren't really problems unless it was the highest order, and I mean Portsmouth, for instance.
Yes.
You know what happened to them?
They were the first big casualty of the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah, but before the actual Premier League deal with all this money coming in with revenue, we didn't really see it before. Clubs spent within their means unless it was financial doping.
Exactly.
I personally think they need to take a leaf out of League Two, the EFL's book a little bit, especially with League Two, because at the start of each season, League Two club owners and chairmen will go to the EFL and they have to present a business plan every year with what they're going to do with players, management, win the club, etc. The Premier League owners need to do that. They need to pass that test. Now, obviously, it's all well and good. If the Glazers happened again now, for instance, 20 years later, they could easily say, we're going to do this, we're going to invest, and then not live up to it. I think, personally, there needs to be a standard set for 3 years, where for 3 years, owners are allowed to put as much money into the club as they can, within realistic means. There must be like a limit of some kind.
I'd say the maximum you can put in is, I would say, because all the clubs in the Premier League can frankly do it now. None of them can avoid this. I think the maximum you can put in every 3 years is 200 million a year. 200, 250.
That's a fair budget.
I think that's more than enough.
Into the club, I think that's more than fair. And I think there should be a minimum and a maximum for me. And
yes, I agree.
After 3 years, if the football club is not at a position that matches that investment, do you know what I mean? Like, let's say Everton, they spent so much money for years and they just
nearly 1 billion in 10 years.
Yeah, and they just kept going. They kept going back and forth sideways. Didn't go forwards, didn't go back. They literally just sideways. And at that point, that's when Premier League sanctions come into place. I think that's when they go, right, no, you can't spend anymore, which is kind of what they did with Everton in a way. You know, we saw them spend money for years and then suddenly turn around and went, okay, you can't spend money. You have to buy to sell.
I have an addition to your proposal here because I think this is a very interesting one.
Mhm.
I actually like where you're going with this. But I want to add one little snippet to it. You also cannot make decisions such as firing managers because they seem to be the ones that have to suffer as well for the circumstance. Like 3 years where, say for example, it's Newcastle.
Yeah.
They go to the Saudis. You know what? Now you can spunk 250 million into Eddie Howe this year. You're judged barely from the first game of the season until the end of the season, and you honour his contract. Second season, same again, 200, 250 million, whatever. You spunk it out, you improve the squad.
Mhm.
If you go backwards, then at that point you should be allowed to say, actually, we've invested nearly 500. Clearly, we are not hitting the targets we've set that he's aware of.
Mhm.
Now we're terminating his contract. I think you need to give the managers the financial sense as well, but you also protect the managers that are in the game as well. So this is something that, ironically, Nathan's best pal Simon Jordan ironically mentioned on TalkSport a couple of weeks ago. It was about when Amorim got the job, because if it's only United stuff, I'll listen just for the blast, even though I think TalkSport's a piece of shit. But he said something very interesting about, well, why should Kieran McKenna or Gareth Southgate get the Man United job when England managers just simply aren't good enough? Whereas the likes of the Portuguese, the Italians, the Germans actually command these jobs because they're actually really good.
They are
What
better
gives an,
from a
Yeah.
coaching
So
standpoint. Yeah.
exactly. So what gives an England manager the right to, an English manager, sorry, to walk into a Manchester United job, for example? They have no divine right. Amorim, even though he's only in the door 2.5 weeks, he has a divine right to the Man United job. Because he actually plays football that has young players involved, a simple but effective means of coaching. He's not a simple coach, but the methods are simple enough for the delinquents to actually understand. But it will actually improve them on and off the field. But he's also geared to win. The last time an English manager won anything in England was Howard Wilkinson in 1992. He won the last ever Football League One, as it was called back then, Division 1. He won it with Leeds, picked United to the league title. Fuck you, Liverpool, for helping them. Before that, any English manager, if you were lucky to win it, was either at Aston Villa, Everton, or Liverpool. Because Arsenal were managed by a Scotsman, ironically, for 9 years. Manchester United were managed by a Scotsman, but they also had an Englishman, but he didn't win them the league, but he won them 2 FA Cups. And then before that, it was another Englishman who failed, but he had a Scotsman that won them the Division 2 and they won the FA Cup, denying Liverpool the treble. So you see, there are no divine right to English managers to do anything, because even Graham Potter, what's he done in the game? Theoretically, he's won it with minnows.
Yeah.
Of relevance. He hasn't done it in a league where it matters. He was given the ultimate chance and he failed. He was given the Chelsea job and he failed. Regardless. The last good English manager, in my opinion, is probably Sir Bobby Robson. In terms of consistent factor, there hasn't been any good since. So even though Simon Jordan is the biggest clown and has no sense of geography at all, he is an absolute clown, he is still categorically correct that there is no good English managers. Even Harry Redknapp, for me, no. Nah. He was decent. He wasn't good. Like, he was fun. I would say he gave you a bit of fun, but would you really say Harry Redknapp was that good? Me personally, I don't think so. I thought he was good fun though. Big Sam is just fun, but they're not good. Like, the last really good English manager was probably Sir Bobby Robson.
I don't disagree with that. I disagree with the sentiment that Big Sam was fun, and even Harry Redknapp was fun to an extent. I'd go more down the route of.
I think they were fun in the way you knew what you were getting. But
you knew what you were getting, and it was
the humor behind
effective.
it.
But
Yes.
no one is sitting there like
No one said
Like when Rafa Benitez rocked up at Liverpool after winning
the
trophies at Valencia.
The UEFA Cup in the league with Valencia, yes.
Finishes 5th with Liverpool, but wins them the Champions League. I do
Yes.
agree with you and what Mr. Jordan has said about English coaches not being good enough.
Annoyingly, he is becoming repetitive on this channel. We need to find ways to stop that happening, but we
Oh,
can't.
massively.
Because annoyingly, he says shit that's relevant, so we can't.
Yeah.
We-
He's
so we
right,
say
though. I
better
mean,
than
this even falls down the route, another route of about a lot of kids in grassroots football go under the radar
yes.
because the coaching quality is poor. Because I've seen football clubs where I've grown up and that they've actually got proper coaches in place, and they're almost like they're academies to the local football club academies. So like they're these Saturday league football clubs. They've actually got coaches that develop players and send them off to. So obviously, I live in the East Midlands, Northampton Town, Coventry, Milton Keynes Dons, etc. These local clubs, their academies have their own academy, which is these.
When I was playing, I did two twice a week. So I did when I went to my grandparents. I played for like the weekend soccer school, but they were coached by the pro clubs. So I actually
they're actually coached as opposed to some kid's dad.
Yeah, so I got to go and train with the pro clubs, and I ended up getting into the team. I was playing initially at right back, and then I eventually got what I wanted. I got moved further forward because I refused to play. Like I told them, one, I'm clearly not Brazilian. I don't want to play like I'm Cafu. I want to play like the winger because I can't fucking do it. I can't do the Cafu shit, even though he's quality. Ironically, that's what got me my move into right wing, saying I'm not Cafu. But it is so much more right with what you're saying is they are properly coached. Like even like a pro youth coach coaching a soccer school on a weekend for an hour and a half, and he invites you to come and join his team says a lot. You don't get that much these days because they're not paying attention.
It's just someone's dad. Yeah. Let me give you an example, a personal example. So when I was 11, I played in a team with friends from school, and that we played on Saturdays. And one of the guys on the team, his dad was our coach. So obviously, you do your basic.
Son to do everything.
Well, to be fair, his son was quite good, but that's not the point. The point is, let's take myself for example. If I was to give you a player profile, I wasn't fast, I wasn't physically strong, but what I could do was, it was really weird because I was lightweight, but I was a very good tackler of the ball. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm getting the ball cleanly.
They're braver.
And like I had a very good tackle accuracy, as in like I very rarely gave fouls away, and unless I really hated the opponent. But
I just hated everyone, so you were screwed either way.
The other thing as well is that even though I was lightweight, I wasn't short, but it was very rare I gave the ball away.
I think the element is though is what you're saying. The thing about the thing about lighter tacklers though is I would define them as braver, because a bigger person, let's be real, everybody calls them nasty bastards on the field. It's because they've got the size and they've got the weight behind them.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely calling them fat here, but they have the weight where they outdo you by 4 or 5 stone.
Yeah.
You could be 8-9 stone as a 10-year-old, for example.
Yeah.
Which is scary shit. I mean, I'm 11.8, which is fucking frightening. But you can be that slim, but then you come up against someone who might be 3-4 years a little bit older than you, and they could be like 16 stone.
Yeah.
And they are not going to be as quick as you, but you'll run into them like a freight train. Like they will send you flying. But because you're more nimble, because you're more agile, you can actually anticipate they're moving quicker, where you can be a better tackler because they don't have the speed.
Well, it comes down to reading the game.
Straight to the floor.
It comes down to reading the game. It's like I never lost the ball, not just from dribbling past players or getting past them, but also
it's just holding up the ball effectively.
Passing. My passing was insane. The only thing I didn't have as well was power in my legs. So I had the pass accuracy. I just couldn't ping 60-yard balls.
I had the opposite. No power up here. I can bench press 350 with my legs.
But this is when I was like 11. But during
Yeah.
secondary school, it sounds very old school, like kind of your classic Rocky kind of
You
workout.
just had
But
puberty, mate.
I used to walk to school and walk home from school, which is about an hour.
For me, it was,
An hour back.
I refused to walk. I
And then
refused
by
to
the
get lost in.
time I started playing competitive again weekly when I was about 16,
Mhm.
17, I could do all I could do before, except I was faster, obviously through development.
Mhm.
I was a better finisher because I could not finish for shit when I was 11.
I don't know what
Jesus
you I don't
Christ.
know what you were doing there, mate, but credit to you.
But I was faster at I was better
Fucking hell.
physically, but I still had the pass accuracy. But this
Yeah.
time I could ping 60-yard balls, and 9 times out of 10, I still can now. A couple of years ago when I was at uni, I'd gained a
That's all
lot.
I
I gained a lot of weight,
Mhm.
so I wasn't as mobile or fast. I couldn't do the box-to-box roll that I could normally do. So I was just playing like a bit of a deep line playmaker. And I remember we played one match. I think I got like 3 assists.
Mhm.
2 of which were just from pinging the ball over the top to some fast winger who just brought it down and finished. A bit of a I'm not gonna say I was like Scholesy, but that kind of just pinging balls around the park, and it
To be
found
fair,
everyone.
To be fair, I was playing like David Beckham before when I was younger, so anytime I had a crossing opportunity or I could dip a ball in, the ball was going there. But I could whip a ball 90 yards. Like
Yeah.
easy.
But
I still can.
Here's my point about it. A coach would have seen me and would have seen this guy's a good passer of the ball. He knows how to. If I played in a possession-based team, for example, as under 11s, under 12s, he would have happily taken me. But being in a team where it was just someone's dad who played players who either could finish, who were fast, or spent the whole game doing skill moves, do you know what I mean? Like,
Which are the worst bloody teams I've ever
Yeah.
played in.
I had fullbacks who focused more on going forward. They weren't fullbacks; they were wingbacks. Do you know how many games we got thrashed, but goals weren't conceded coming down the side that I was defending? Because I was a bit of a utility player. Played in the midfield, played on the wings, played at
Exactly.
fullback, and like I think my debut we lost against a team that 3 divisions higher than us in a cup.
Mhm.
We were
Ironically-
3-0 down, I think, at one point, but all the goals would come from being crossed on the right hand side. And then for some reason-
Ironically, that game I told you where I played right back first was the only time I ever
Yeah.
played right back, right? And we lost. But ironically, we didn't concede when I was playing at right back, but when they brought the main fullback on is when we started conceding every single goal. It's
Yeah.
because he was just the same. He was just bombing forward. I was like, I'm a winger. My aim is to go forward, but obviously I'm playing a little bit smart. Every time I get the ball, you put me under pressure, I'm going to get past you and I'm just going to swing that ball. So the striker was literally looking for him. It was actually the striker himself who went to the coach and he was like, right, we get it. You needed somebody to play right back today because you weren't sure the main guy was fit. But can you please just put this guy as the winger because he's actually going to find me the ball? 5 crosses in a row. Goal, 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 goal. And the coach is like... And I'm like... Get me fucking sign me to your team. Eventually I did. But I literally got in my contract. I literally went, I do not want to play right back again.
Do you know what? I can even bring an example with my younger brother into this.
I hate fullback. Like I love watching.
Though
fullback,
they're
but I
not
hate playing
fullbacks.
fullback.
They're like I literally got swapped sides, and then because I started left back, I think, and then I
Oh,
went
you
to right
very-
back, and then
oh,
we
you
conceded
very
another 2
goblin.
goals before halftime from the left back side.
I hate it. I viscerally hate the inverted fullback shit. Like, I don't.
They weren't even
don't see the need
inverted.
for it.
They were just shit.
But they're
They were
inverted
not
human
defensively
beings then.
sound. They were your Serge Auriers, where they focus so much on going forward, they got nothing coming back. I'll give you an example with my brother actually, because 5 years younger than me, but he was a bit bigger than me. So and he was a really good kind of ball playing centre back that could be a stopper as well if you wanted him to be. He played for I think he played for the B team of this
Nice.
football club of his age group, but in the A team, I think there was only 2 defenders. Everyone else was very attacking, very like good on the ball, very forward-thinking players. And then we were doing one of these weekend tournaments, and we were watching not just my brother's games, but the A team's games as
Yeah.
well. Couldn't defend for shit. They had two defenders, could not defend for shit. The thing is, the A team could raid players from the B team, but they kept coming for forward-thinking players, which they didn't need, and they kept trying to convert players who, like, the dodgy fullback of the All-Star team. They tried to convert them into centre backs, and they just wasn't going to work. And I feel like, and this it just shows how bad it is at grassroots level, because you get players. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say my brother's the best defender in the world. I mean, I've watched him grow up, and I've seen him play for his school matches when he was at secondary school, and he became the centre back for the A team, and he would just fly into tackles. He would destroy people 2 minutes in, let them know. He had a bit of a Vidic about him. Vidic, Ramos, Martinez. He had that about him as he grew up, which I loved. But coaches at grassroots, just kids' dads, they just don't seem to. I understand, obviously, I know it's kids' football, it's not that deep, but the reason I make a point about it is because I've seen it happen in academies as well. During COVID, Villa played Liverpool in the FA Cup. Now, this wasn't one of those games where Klopp threw the kids and threw the match. It was a year after, and Villa threw kids into that game. I think Louis Barry scored for Villa that day. They had a kid playing at centre-back called Mungo Bridge, who was in my year at school. When I knew him at school, I'm fairly certain he was an attacking fullback, or at least a midfielder, and this guy was playing as a centre-back. I understood the guy grew, and he was quite tall, so I understood why you'd profile him into playing as a centre-back, but you're seeing a lot of skillful kids convert, because either they're either not recruiting proper defenders, because I feel like we're running out of actual proper defenders.
Yeah,
it's kind of similar to my brother, that old school, I'm just going to fly into tackles and just kill everyone. Do you know, those brave, aggressive defenders? And I feel like that comes down to grassroots, and you'll get the odd scout at these kids' games or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it's very rare that. Well, I say it's very rare. No, it's completely opposite. It's very easy for kids to get lost and slip through the net because there's no proper development. If they made the coaching badges in the English FA harder from grassroots level to the top level, because the problem English managers have is they don't work hard enough. Why do you think Scott Parker got only playoffs with a Premier League Fulham side and got relegated with a really good Fulham side, and then Marco Silva took up pretty much the same side that Parker had in the Championship and took them up automatics as champions, I believe? English managers don't work hard enough. The quality just isn't there. So I think they need to revamp the coaching system. And I know we've gone into tangents about our football playing days, and it's kind of not relevant to sanctions, but I think it's just based off what Reece was saying about English coaches. English coaches just aren't good enough, and that needs to be revamped.
Yeah,
that is a crackdown. But that is a crackdown.
It's a form of crack. I disagree with it being used in the ownership kind of the business plan I was mentioning earlier. That Reece said add this bit in, because I just think that
it's
having that simple rule.
I think it's a good way to protect certain managers who never seem to get a look in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're always like the ostracized, scapegoated managers because they're deemed not good enough. That's because you bin them so quickly. You don't give them a chance.
But then again, Reece, it comes down to how good of an operator you are, because there seems to be this constant narrative these days where you're either a Graham Potter who plays nice tippy-tappy football, or you're a Sean Dyche who apparently plays this 4-4-2 Brexit ball, everyone behind the ball, and then somehow
you pump money behind him, you might see something different, ironically, even though I don't firmly believe it. But you never know. Well,
not just different, but the foundation is there to build on. You pump money into a Sean Dyche team. I know at Burnley he had that in his final season. The problem is, I think it was too little too late, because they weren't invested in the year before. During COVID, I think they only spent 950 grand on one player, and that was it.
Yeah, that was the case with a lot of clubs, wasn't it? They either had to make a profit to get the earnings back that they lost, or they just didn't invest, especially with like the richer clubs and stuff as well.
We do have a We do have a new fraud watch, however, guys.
Oh, really?
Ooh, go for
We
it.
do have a new fraud watch. And this is a really annoying one as well, because we were going to talk about this as well tonight, and we're going to talk about it now. And we'll get Nathan's financial crackdown idea in a second as well. I'm actually lowering the desk for this. Feels quite good. I didn't say go to above 40. This next one, lads, is a bit of a
There's
noise.
another
because this-
fraud watch. Cough, cough, Sporting.
Yeah, I've seen the scoreline. You're getting absolutely spanked
Mhm.
royally up the ass by the worst club from London. But ironically, I'm actually kind of glad Maze is here as well, because this actually ties in as someone in the sense of the home aspect.
Mhm.
Damn, of all players.
Sorry, can I just make a point about something? I'm watching the Sunderland game and I'm looking at Patrick Roberts and his beard. He looks like a kid who wished one day he'd be 21 and woke up the next morning 21 with a beard.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you sold him in Mexico. Oh, Mexico. Okay. This is a very interesting one because obviously they have tweeted it as well. So this is a big tweet, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Mhm.
But 12:30 on Saturday for the 12:30 for the Everton game. Sorry, there is a protest outside the Holy Trinity statue for Manchester United versus Everton because of ticket prices.
Fair enough.
Oh my God.
I'll explain this. So financial crackdowns essentially is what can
Reece wants to do
governing-
drugs.
I mean, talking to you, cocaine. Essentially, financial crackdowns is the means of how does the world of football get better on the terms of both the financial and not the financial. For fuck's sake, Maisie.
Oh my God.
If anyone should understand this, I'm anti-drugs. Always have been.
Your auntie drugs. Okay, fair enough.
Anti-drugs. Anti.
No, you only say
ANTI.
yeah, auntie drugs. It sounds different because you have an accent.
Because I'm Scottish, you racist git.
Reece, do you say bath or bath?
Bath.
See, auntie.
No, there's anti or anti. Yeah, I'm anti-paracetamol.
Anti-paracetamol. Oh my
I
God.
don't
It's a great
like
fraud
taking,
pharmacist name.
I don't like recovery with tablets or pills because then I have a feeling I'll develop an addiction and I'm not interested. But anyway, financial crackdowns to get off this fucking doping section.
You said
There's
crack,
another one.
to be fair.
Financial crackdowns. Basically, what we're maybe I need to maybe we need to rephrase that part as well. Financial implications. In the main sense that when you look at
Nah, I've got nothing.
but that's different. I mean, like, I just don't like taking them, but you have to. It's unfortunate for you. I just hate doing it. I just really do. But the financial implications, what we're effectively saying is, what can you do to improve the game on the means of the financial, but also not destroy the inner sanctity of the football club? So Julio made a great suggestion about, well, you enforce a minimum or maximum amount that a club can spend every single year for a set period. Until then, you've got to justify your revenue income, which is more effective than the PSR bollocks.
Oh,
The
it's
PSR
shocking.
shit, that will never work. So Julio said roughly I said about 200, 250, which Julio thinks is roughly fair. And then you've got to justify based on your revenue. And then if you haven't proven it and you're not shown as meeting the criteria, then implications and sanctions come in. So no trading, no buying of players, and I would actually maybe say a limit to how much you can actually sell a player for, because that will be a way to try and means up it. But when you look at it now, and that's a good point, that time limit, however, will benefit some teams over others. you're right, but when you look at the Premier League now, a club like Bournemouth can spend £75 million on a player against a bigger club like AC Milan, who will try and get the same player for 30, 40.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, look at the size of the clubs as well between AC Milan and AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah, one's a European successful juggernaut, the other is a minnow.
Tiny. Really
Can I just ask
tiny.
something?
But they
Can I just ask?
big. Go on.
Do you think they should add a specific kind of like a divide or a ratio
They are
between?
amazing.
Because I'm seeing teams. Maze makes a good point about teams wouldn't spend 250 million, but 250 million is going into the club, so into facilities, into infrastructure, into everything. 250 million. I was thinking
If
to
you
myself,
prove that, that's what
go
Yeah.
into anything you want.
prove that it works.
But then counterpoint. Do they say based on your performance last year, you can only of that 200 million or whatever money you want to, or whatever total money you want to invest, a certain percentage goes into transfers, a certain percentage goes into this, into this, into this.
Potentially, but then are you micromanaging clubs? That's the problem.
But when you think about it,
But in finance, you need that because you can't
Exactly,
just
and I was
pump
about-
250 because it's
this is what I was
you
going to say.
pump 250 million in one big go. That
Yeah.
still goes in
Yes.
3 separate directions.
You're getting there, and this is what I was getting at, because this is where like my background comes in. So when you're looking at the whole investment side, you've got your transfers, jot down, already got it. You've got your training ground, your facilities, bang on. You've got your staff, but then you also have the inside and outside culture. So I think that is strong-winded. That's key. Now, Maisie says here, think firstly, not buying a team, then putting them in automatic debt, have an open financial book
Yeah,
of what is
proof
being
of
spent
funds
on
and
that.
that when purchasing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what came back on in my point earlier when I said if an owner or a club, for example, are riddled in debt and they cannot meet a threshold, then they are they
Payment
receive
deadlines
half
and that.
of, yes. So, for example, if Manchester United's current debt 1.5 billion or whatever it is, if we cannot meet a certain criteria value, then the amount of money that we should get from the Premier League every year, cut it in half. If Man United say get, I don't know how much Man United get from a TV revenue deal, but say for example it's 350 million or something. I don't know what the TV fucking deal is at Sky these days, but say it's 350 million that Man United can get. Straight away, strip it down to 175. I think that even the Premier League winners, their debts are still shocking. Slice their things in half. It kind of goes against the opposite thing that I said a couple of months ago when I said they should get all the TV money if they win the league. But if their debts are shocking, slash it. That is true.
Yeah, nowhere near. Obviously.
I think it's a huge ramification. But that's the thing, it's like we already know one big failure. Yeah, that is true. Or if you're really smart investor without oil money, but oil money definitely is the big thing. One thing we have categorically proven, both ourselves and to be fair, Maisie done on her channel numerous times, the one thing that's categorically wrong with football these days, especially in the Premier League, is not just about money or the owners, it's the financial means and the financial means and owners test.
Yes.
That either needs to be scrapped and replaced with something new, or you completely revamp it. I know what
problem
I'm
is as well is
lads.
it's all over the place and it doesn't protect clubs enough. Like, and it was just introduced too late because we still have dodgy owners out there.
Just
you know,
look at Rangers with Ian Murray and Craig White.
Oh my god, yeah.
Couldn't even prove that either. Horrible. You know what I mean? Like this shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely
but let's
right.
see it. I want to see this. But that is an unfortunate circumstance of the Premier League means and owners test. It's, and I don't care what any football fan says nowadays. I can't. Like I'm not gonna see the whole anti-Saudi, anti-Qatar, anti-oligarchs and all that. You can be against that. That's fine. Like, because if anything, that shows you've got a little bit of morality to yourself.
Yeah.
But you cannot blindly not realise that this was allowed back in years ago because it was already foresaw. Just someone at least had the balls to do it first, and that was Roman Abramovich.
Mhm.
He had the balls to say, I want to buy a Premier League club.
And he changed the way as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, but I've
Like
got
that.
a solution to that, which I'll get
Even
to
the
mine in a
ex-Celtic
moment.
owners. Even the ex-Celtic owners.
Yeah.
They tried to make that club go bust until, ironically, the SFA stepped in, but they wouldn't do it for Rangers, the fucking gimps.
We all know the reason for that as well.
Bias.
Yep.
But that is an element of wrong with the game. And it needs to be cracked on. It's terrifying, gentlemen. It's terrifying. But it kind of ties into our final topic of the evening. And this is where we're going to enjoy a good 25 minutes to 30 minutes. Because, again, we're not going to go too long. We're only going to go about 2.5 quarters. Maisie, fuck's sake. That is cold. 5-1.
Now, Nathan, I've sent you an edit on WhatsApp. You've got to get that in here before we move on.
Let's have a look.
It better be. Remember, this is not a kid-friendly show, so it better be good.
Yeah.
See if it's.
Hang on, let me chuck this in. So, let me just.
It better not include me. I've already got enough of my own.
It's not.
content
Reece,
that I
it doesn't.
use.
It doesn't include you, genuinely.
Thank God, because I've already got my own shit that I'm clipping up right now. I can't say live. Not in a bad
So
way.
no Reece clown videos then, no?
Or when he say his name and he appears.
What,
I
Reece
usually do.
Russell?
I believe in Reece Russell.
You should. I'm a prophet. I declare revenue. Could be worse though. You could be asked to go to court for fucking jury duty. I got over it the last time. Now and apparently now I have to go because it's the magistrate court.
Reece, I bet it's going to be weird for you where you're going to be saying guilty, but not because you're on the stand for someone else.
I've never once been arrested. I've never actually been charged or arrested in my life. I've never been lifted or nicked.
It's valid, Reece. It's valid. Would you rather I photoshopped your face onto that?
I'm good. Because you have to determine which version of me. And there's already too many.
No, but it's a fair point I've made though. Fiscal responsibility.
Apparently you look snazzy.
Thank you, Maze. You should see the full photo.
You fucking perf.
What?
That's a perfect.
No, the full photo. I'm in the most prestigious
Nathan,
bathroom I've
Nathan.
ever been in my life.
Nope, Nathan, that's outrageous. Take number 2.
Fucking hell.
Maisie, that is too far.
Oh, it's PG 100%. I would never talk about it if it wasn't. I will be real. I'd never be on a show with Reece and start talking about not PG photos.
What's that supposed to mean?
You'd kick me off.
Not really. I've done
You'd kick me off your show as a power
No.
play.
No. How am I supposed to? I'm not signed in the StreamYard. I would just say mute him. But I wouldn't kick you off.
You didn't let me in.
I bet that wasn't my fault. I can't see. Maisie, what the heck is that supposed to imply?
I know exactly what Reece is going to say next.
What the fuck?
After that.
No. Hell no. Fuck it. No. Jesus Christ. Call the cops.
I'm really waiting for Reece to say the line that he always says when he's been accused of something like that.
Oh, fuck off. Like, aye, right. Not fucking gay. Right. Bernie finished the fuck.
Oh god, that's comment of the night.
I mean, it's better than Kyogo skins Rangers any day. That fucking pains.
He's a baller though, isn't he?
I mean, to be fair, I think Arsenal skin Sporting, but I can't really say much on that. Like, I feel bad for them. I mean, that's what happens when you go from an elite manager to someone I've never heard of. Just kidding, but that is awkward. Where were we? Apart from this
talking
whole,
about photos of me. No, joking. We were moving on, Reece. We were moving on.
Oh my god.
You're a fucking cunt. Oh, you bastard. Okay, I'll let the viewers have that, because to be fair, we do like to have fun. Not that kind of fun, but we like to have fun and make people laugh. So I'll have that. Okay. Ironically, the next one is to do with what I was saying about ticket prices, because obviously Man United have went psycho with their ticket prices. They've raised it shockingly.
That's a disgrace.
Under 18 games have now went from £25 a match to £66. Like, it's a massive increase. The 1958 have raised a protest. Sorry, have organised a protest for the Everton game at 12:30. Free City. Is that Santiago Jimenez equalised for Feyenoord?
Santiago Jimenez, yes.
No, Hanko.
Oh, he's
Oh.
crap.
Jimenez got the second goal.
Oh, I love him. He's flat too good.
Oh my god.
But to be fair, Hanko is a good centre back. Like, he is a big unit. But Santiago Jimenez is unreal. Mexico finally have an elite striker for the first time in 10 years. I don't think of him like that, Maze, but I do like his hair. But there's some insane scores tonight, gentlemen. Like, insane score lines. Atalanta won 6-1. Bayer Leverkusen won 5-0. Like, Jesus. Oh, I'm not going to take it away, but Norwich City did beat Plymouth 6-1.
Let's all laugh at Wayne Rooney.
Let's talk about Sporting. I believe they almost won in their minds. They didn't. I actually feel bad for them. That's an absolute humiliating loss for them when right now they don't want it because they had a good result the weekend. I'm pretty sure they won 5-0 in the league, I think. Why would I be buzzing about Norwich? Maisie, you behave.
Attracted to Delia Smith.
Where are you, lest we having you?
Oh wait, didn't I tag you lads in a Harry Hill Delia Smith thing the other week?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh my
that was hilarious, to be fair. But this is what I'm saying at. Fan rules and decisions around the club. Now, realistically, fans shouldn't have a massive say on a football club, but they should be consulted on certain matters. This one was sent as emails around to season ticket holders, telling them that ticket prices are going up treble in value for certain match days.
What was their reasoning behind it?
Quite frankly,
Firstly, is what I'd like to know. What was the reason they put on the email?
I don't mean in that way, Maisie. What I mean is, like, it's the actual, like, I think when it comes to season tickets, they should come to them in the sense of what's reasonable.
Yeah.
So this was sent from Manchester United's ticketing association, the ticketing association, to fans ahead of the Ipswich game that just happened at the weekend. So this was sent to them. Tickets for the game are now sold out, but don't worry, if you missed out on our previous ticket releases, more tickets will be released for sale in the lead up to the game by season ticket holders. But there's a specific marketing paragraph marked in red that I want you guys to hear And this, I think, is fucking insane. So don't say anything until I've said it, right? Here we go. 97% of match tickets for this season have already been sold, with 5 age-related discounts available to our fans.
Right.
Now that all major ticket releases have taken place, we have reached capacity of discounted tickets, and any future tickets released for the game will be sold at £66 for all fans, regardless of location or age.
You know why they've done that, don't you?
That's children, young adults, and elderly. £66 regardless of who you are or where you come
Disgusting. At the end
from.
of
I
the day,
find that abysmal.
it is. But the reason they've done it is they're profiteering on something they'll know they'll get money for, regardless if they're seen as being scumbags.
Bang on, Maze. Bag.
That's the problem. All about the money. Because at the end of the day,
casual
that
weirdo
seat is
fans
not going to
will
go
hit the
empty.
next door like little chavs. Not saying that anyone here goes to do that, but you know what I mean. Like there are like those weirdo chav fans that have a megastore and spend like 200 quid on everything and comes out looking like Ty from AFTV.
I knew that was coming.
I just had
Says
to.
Reece sitting there in his United jacket right now.
Only one. That's all I've got. Mate, I'm not calling you a chav.
Well, hang on a minute. You're only wearing one jacket. Be concerned if you're wearing 2 indoors.
Oh, I'm only wearing one. I'm not saying you are, mate. I'm saying there are people, for example, like if I'm going to a megastore for a football club I support, right? For example, I'm going.
He's dug himself a hole.
No, I haven't, because I didn't explain it properly. I'll explain it. If I'm going to a megastore, right? If I'm going to a club megastore, like for example, if I'm going to the Scotland one, or if I just put the heating on, I'm cold looking at you.
Yeah, trust me,
God.
mate. Every time I'm on a show with Reece, it reminds me to defrost the freezer.
Fuck off. Now, that is incredibly abusive.
That is mad.
But for example, if I'm at
If
I'm at like the Man United Megastore, for example, I'm not going to go in there and spend 200-300 quid on an assortment of things, right? For me, you go to the Megastore, for the club you support, you get one thing, it's like a treat. It's like a treat in that way. Fuck off, Maisie. No, please don't. Please don't. But what is this abuse with me? What is it? Why am I the one that gets abused on this show?
Because if I do it to Nathan, I feel upset and it's sad.
You're fucking weak.
Spineless boy.
No, because I look at Nathan and it's like his baby face is going to cry if I say something horrible to him.
He's probably taller than you.
No, he's shorter than me, the same age as me, and I do agree with the fact that he's not that young. He looks like his dad.
I
It's the worst football in the world.
barely tower him. I barely.
Oh, he
tower
does.
him, and I'm taller than him. And I'm taller.
Honestly,
than
the
his dad.
picture with me and him is honking.
Oh,
It's not the word I
Nathan's
use.
smile's about to change.
You see, I couldn't do this. I'd feel guilty. It's like hitting a puppy or something.
That is top comment of the night. Because Nathan
Hang it
does
in the
not
loo.
like Nathan doesn't like Solskjaer.
Really?
He doesn't.
Can't stand him.
Nathan
Oh,
hates
you don't like
Ole Gunnar
Solskjaer, I
Solskjaer.
understand.
Ruin the club.
He ruined your club with
No,
I mean,
Vince
we
McMahon.
go over this all the time, Julio, but
No,
let's
I
be
know,
fair,
I know.
he did ruin the club. You know?
I thought what Reece said. I thought he meant Mays didn't like Solskjaer. That's what confused me. I know you
No.
don't like Solskjaer. I thought he said that Mays didn't like Solskjaer.
I mean, to be fair, Maisie doesn't like Cavani anymore.
What was that sound?
I'm gasping. It's my dramatic gasp.
Just wait. Just wait.
It's a shame YouTube doesn't give you the Devils United is typing. Oh, is this like when Reece says he doesn't like Lukaku, but he actually does?
Except I don't like Lukaku because he's absolute horseshit. You know when actually I would have there is actually a period of time where I think I may have liked Lukaku.
Everton?
No,
What about West Brom?
West Brom.
no, I'm getting to it. There was a time.
Computer can't compute.
We've broken him. Well, I say we. Maze mainly.
Macy's broken him, yeah.
You just see the buffering logo on Reece.
Maisie, you remind me of Paul Pogba. That's all I'm gonna say. You remind me of Paul Pogba. But in essence, I'm probably gonna get killed for that comment.
Sorry, hang on. We've gone really off topic. What were we talking about again?
I can hear the Apache helicopters flying over the border right now because they don't have to fly it up much.
Oh god.
I'll take that. I mean, Ravel Morrison was talented at one point. Actually, never mind. He never was. Yeah, you're probably right. But in essence, the whole they're on the bag, they're taking the money. But you're appealing to the casual fan who's going to go and spend hundreds of quid in the mega store, but they're not ones that you really want. Now, I get it, obviously, if you want to make money, absolutely, they will definitely appeal to you. But they're not the ones that you're trying to keep on site. The ones you're trying to keep on site are the ones you've literally just raised their prices for. Imagine being a hardcore fan, like hardcore traveling fan. Like I'm a different kind of hardcore fan, but I don't miss games. But I can't obviously go to every single one live. But if you are looking at the hardcore match day fan home and away, and you've now told them, regardless of how old they are, you're spending 66 quid. Imagine having imagine it being a dad with his 5-year-old son. You're going to the football. That's £122.
It's disgusting.
Not everyone's going to have that though, Maisie. That's the sad reality. And by the way, they're cracking down on this, by the way. They're cracking down on that stuff about if you've got contacts wherever you can get tickets off, because they're checking who you're getting the tickets from now. They're checking if you're sharing your season ticket, apparently, yeah. So that makes it even worse.
They're really trying to stamp it down, aren't they?
They are doing everything they can to kill the game, and I'll tell you what will be killed next. It'll be us with our IPTV. Sorry, I tickled my throat there for all the internationals out there. But they'll tackle people who refuse to pay X amount of money on TV boxes because we get shafted every year. It's because of bastards like Sky.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking.
Like prime example, I'll give
Police
you.
Scotland. No, I'll give you the greatest example. Then you can shut mine down. I'll give you a great example. A man beats up his wife, for example.
Whoa. Sorry.
Just as an example, he beats the living piss out of her, and he goes to jail for like 18 months. 18 months, which is ridiculous. Could be longer, right? But yet, a guy who was streaming off TV, was streaming a football game for TV or whatever, he got 3 years in prison.
It's disgraceful.
Or that clown from the BBC, who's an absolute nonce. 6 months suspended. The recent one.
There's loads of them.
Surname begins with E. That's all I'll say.
I know which one you're on about, but there's loads of BBC.
I can't remember his freaking name.
There is a list.
Like, grey-haired square box fucker. That's what I'll call him.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got 6 months suspended prison sentence. Wissam Ben Yedder. Look what happened to him recently with what he did. He raped someone under the influence. He got 6 months suspended sentence and a €180,000 fine. But yet someone who isn't watching TV on a legalized service gets 3 years in jail. I'm sorry, but that fan is that's a genuine human being who is suffering because of Sky or Virgin or BT, whoever it fucking is, because they are money leeching parasites.
Yeah.
Like, it's disgusting.
One that's killing it with Sky and stuff as well, and I know it's a little bit different. Well, it's a lot more tamer to that as well, but all of these fixture movements, especially in the EFL with the new TV, because obviously you had the 2016 Premier League deal, now you've got the 2024-25 EFL deal. Like, the amount of games that are on midday is just ridiculous. Like, we played Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. Obviously, Cardiff Sheffield Wednesday. It's a long trip, but for us, it's not bad.
And it was a loss.
Draw.
Oh, I thought
Hillsborough, which is diabolical. To me, it wouldn't have surprised me if we would have lost that. Like, we didn't deserve to win anyway. But like, it's just a standard game, isn't it? You go up to Sheffield, you have a few when you get there, back home. Nice little 3 o'clock one. It's not too far. In our terms, it's not too far away. It's doable for most fans. Stick it at 12:30. Your pickups are like 5 in the morning. You got to be up at stupid o'clock on a Saturday. Like, I was looking at it. It was at the start of the season. I was like, right, I'll go to that one. Move it to midday. I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. You have a hard week in work, and then why should it be that you got to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning to get to these midday kickoffs when it's just on TV? I mean, they'll say, oh, it's not going to affect the away attendances. It is. You can see it for all these midday games. People just don't want to go because it's on Sky. And then you have teams like, well, Sheffield Wednesday's one. Bristol City's a really bad example as well. A few of the London clubs, etc., charging 35, 38 quid a ticket. It's ridiculous.
It is awful.
Bear in mind, the Premier League only charged 30 quid.
Yeah. But it's not just that. This is, by the way, this is not a lie. This is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how many of the 20 Premier League clubs have raised their ticket prices this season?
Probably going to say a good 18. There's probably one outlier.
18 for you?
Yeah.
Julio? How many do you reckon have raised their ticket prices this season?
Ticket prices.
Between 1 and 20. Between 1 and 20.
Yeah, I'm trying not to confuse it with season tickets. I'm just going to say 15.
It's just in general. That includes that. All across the board.
15
raised
then.
Prices. So Maisie's gone 20. Nathan's gone 18. You've gone 15. 19 clubs.
Who was the outlier then?
I'm going to find it right now because it was on this post. One club hasn't done it.
I bet it's like Ipswich or something. Or Bournemouth.
To be fair, their small stadium, probably.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Brentford's, yeah.
I mean,
it's actually out there. It's like their ground the other week.
Yeah. We know it wasn't Everton because we know they did, although that's why United and Everton fans are protesting.
Yeah, Fulham put theirs up ridiculously.
Yeah, they got like one of the most expensive corporate in the league now.
Fulham are now the most expensive season tickets in the Premier League for their new stand.
Disgusting.
It dwarfs Arsenal by £600. But yeah, so on Sunday, United versus Everton. Everton and United fans like FC United 50 and all that stuff. They will be doing a peaceful protest. And they'll be holding up banners in the game with the words "Real change takes courage, real change takes passion, real change takes dedication." These will also be shared, and it's also the hashtag Stop Exploiting Loyalty, which is very important. Man United fans are doing that, Everton fans are doing it, Liverpool fans are doing it, and Manchester City. They've all branded together, these 4 clubs, the Manchester and Liverpool clubs. They've all branded together for these banners that are going to be on display this weekend. The peaceful protests are expected to carry on for several months, but the manner of it, however, is, gentlemen, how much more are we expecting from clubs and also the fan role in football in general, especially fan-owned clubs? They're becoming a distinct problem now as well because they're not getting any respect they deserve behind the scenes because they're being branded as too political.
Yeah, like the only one I can think of now in the top division, because obviously you've just had the Swansea ownership change as well, because they had I think they might still be slightly flat fan owned, but I'm pretty sure the only one I can think of is Luton and AFC Wimbledon at the top. So obviously, and they're going to be struggling now, and you'll see it even more because of just the funding gap, for example, of all this oil money. Like a fan-owned club isn't going to be able to sustain that without mad TV deals and stuff. But this is where I'll always go back to my main thing about like ownership and stuff of teams. The only way you'll get this sorted and stamp out rogue owners is to bring in my method of reforming it. The 50+1 rule from Germany, bring that over here, but fix it to all the problems that it has from the Bundesliga. So, for example, my method would be on the 50.1. Looks like Doug's arrived. Hey,
it's hard to fix the 50+1 rule because in Germany, for example, the 50+1 rule, you can't bring it to the Premier League now anyway, because the 50+1 rule is protected from investment from outside. So the likes of Volkswagen, the likes of BMW, the likes of Mercedes, Audi,
Bayer as well.
To some extent, they're still clever because they still own these clubs.
Yeah.
Because they're looking outside the Bundesliga and they'll get up there, or they'll have agreements, but they'll have only the financial means. They don't have the full control.
Yeah.
The problem is the TV deal in the Bundesliga isn't as strong as the Premier League, so you can't outweigh the investment. So the investment will always win.
Yeah.
Even though I like the 50+1 rule, the problem that stops them coming here is investment from TV.
But the way I was sort of getting to it is where you have this sort of, I know the government have tried to bring it in with fan advisory boards, like for example, Cardiff City have implemented one, but I don't think there's any like influence on it when the owner just has full control. Because my attitude with it, they don't listen. And that's why I think with the 50+1 rule, in my take, that the fans can vote on it to obviously implement and force these owners to make changes, and they're legally bound to do it. So, for example, to avoid it from the way that RB Leipzig do it, is with the club memberships. If you're a season ticket holder, you automatically get one. And then if you want to be a member in another aspect, so you can't get a season ticket, for example, you have to pass checks to be able to get them, to authenticate that you're a proper fan. And obviously you can only have it for one club throughout the 92.
Well, that's Mark Goldbridge fucked, because he'll have to prove he's not a Man United fan, but he has to prove he's a Nottingham Forest fan.
Or a Solihull Moors fan when they get promoted.
Or that, yeah.
So that pretty much rules out Goldbridge. But to make sure that the representation's there and that the accountability's on the fan advisory as well, because we all know what some fans are like. And then that could obviously split in between different fan groups. Say, for example, we could have a PSG situation where you have two different ultras sat at different ends of the stadium. What you have, very similar to politics, every 5 years, you have an election with all the members who will appoint one leader. And then they'll appoint their people around them. Then every 5 years, it changes or they get re-elected. And then that'll pass it up to the board. In these meetings, the owners, etc., have to be present. And then anything that the owners want to do, they have to communicate and it has to be signed off. But the 50+1 will make sure that the fans have it at all times. These will stop these rogue decisions happening and make sure the decisions and money's going in the right direction.
I do like it. There is one major other issue with 50+1, and this is something that a lot of Bundesliga fans don't talk about. And luckily, Leipzig, we don't have to worry about that because all the members that are like all the Leipzig members are actually Leipzig employees, not season ticket holders.
Yeah, that's the loophole that I'd close.
Where you have
the season ticket guarantee.
But they're all now fans of the club anyway, so they actually do have the interest of the club. The scary thing that I have for the 50+1 rule as well, and this is a genuine issue. If it's Clement getting the sack, I'll fucking jump and for joy. One thing that scares me, right, and this is just something true. The 50+1 rule is if you've got fans on the board, they have to agree on a lot of key things. What's the one thing that a fan struggles to agree with on nowadays?
In particular, from like what I see from Cardiff fans, style of play and managerial stuff.
No, not style of play, not managerial. What do they specifically argue about?
Players.
Bingo. transfers. How the hell is it going to work in the Premier League?
In that scenario, obviously from the way that they advise, so how I do it, that is interesting if that's true. And not only that as well, you can tell that Staveley's gone, can't you?
This is the secretary of Fenerbahce. Yes, we'd like to speak to Jose Mourinho. Fuck off. If that is true, that's very interesting. That's very interesting.
But yeah, the way
I
you've
think
got
his time is coming. Personally, sorry,
Oh,
Nathan,
yeah.
to cut you off. I'll just say that
needs like a bit of a refresh there now. I think because he's got the process started with the new owners and stuff, but just something different maybe. But go back to obviously what I was saying with sort of like the transfer situation and everything. That's where these meetings happen. Obviously, whoever's the president, the fan president of this one, how they do it like Barcelona, where they obviously elect individuals, etc. That's where the fan boards can advise on it and vote how they want to do their transfer strategy. So obviously, it's ridiculous how we're going to have to sign off every transfer. That's not going to happen. But the way they can do it, thinking about our club, is that on the 50+1, we would say to Vincent Tan, right, we want you to appoint a director of football and a sporting director to control it above and to implement that. And that's how we're going to base our transfer strategy. We do a strategy, you employ the people to do it, and then if it goes wrong, the fan advisory board meets, kicks them out.
Yeah, that works as well.
And then it's all down to the fans to do it. That's the best way, I think.
But we already know one other thing as well, and this is the question. It's the financial implication of them enforcing it as well. They'll have to tell them to make that investment to cut. And they might turn around and say, well, actually, no. That's the hard thing as well. That is a hard thing.
Yeah.
I can't see.
Then again, I think with the financial stuff, it would be up to the owners to obviously discuss it. And I think if common sense is obviously implemented there, then the fans would back off in these advisory boards. Say, for example, saying, right, the fans go, right, we want a certain amount spent. The owners go, no, there's no budget here. Surely the fans then should have the common sense to backtrack and go back to the members, etc., and say, look, we don't have the money. How do you want to approach this transfer window, for example? That's the way of doing it. And it'd stop all of these decisions being forced through. Say, for example, the owner wants to change the kit. It goes to a vote between all the fans.
No, I think that's fair.
This is the reason why. Because at the end of the day, I guarantee you now, if Tan goes, if this was implemented in 2012, Tan goes to the 50+1, say, for example, God knows who we'd appoint at that point. Back then, Tan goes right to the fan advisory board. Right. I want to change the kit to red to allow for more investment. Here you go do a vote. They ballot all season ticket holders and members, it would just be voted like 99% down. You get some lunatic who'd say yes, probably, but... And then obviously that's that decision stopped. Instead of, we're implementing it against the fans' will, protest after protest, and no blue, no renew.
Yeah, I think that's a good one in that sense. Julio, yourself, we'll give you the final closing comments on fan roles and decisions and football in general. I'll let you close it. What are you thinking?
I don't really have anything more to add. I don't like... On the one hand, I do like the idea of fan involvement, but on the other hand, if our fan base is anything to go by, there's people who can get to higher up positions in fan boards that I don't think are fit for purpose.
That's why they need to be elected, in my opinion.
But even so, because powers of election, democracy sometimes can be a failure. We've seen it in our own governments, and bribes and everything. So.
But to twist that a little bit, and I know I keep butting it, I do apologise. That's why I think season ticket holders should get a bit higher priority instead of just random members, because obviously then they'll do
but
they'll be looked after better. You see,
I'm probably touching on a very, very fine surface here when I say this next part, but in the Manchester United fan base particularly, there seems to be an arrogance of these regular match goers who seem to think their opinion matters more compared to any other fan, because either they grew up in Manchester, or they grew up near the stadium, or they go to games regularly, whatever.
It's why they don't want Marcus Rashford sold, because he's part of the club. I was like, yeah, he's part of the problem.
I mean, look, I'll give you an example. Especially this comes worse with international fans, and I think I know someone from Norway. She probably gets to go to Old Trafford probably once a year. Okay. Yeah. Proper avid Manchester United fan.
I know. Put it this way, I've got no feel like that.
Comes from a family full of Liverpool fans, and has, since she started properly following football, has done it in our worst era of recent times, and she gets when she goes to Old Trafford once a year. Okay, she's going to take loads of photos being there. Do you know what I mean? Just to enjoy the moment, and she does so. And you get people seeing her on Twitter and basically go like, "Oh, you're an international fan. Stop using my football club just for more followers." Bear in mind, she doesn't get any profit of any kind from this kind of content. And then you get a reply saying, "I sat near her on the Stretford End during the Barcelona game or whenever it was. Could not just treating it like a photo shoot." Shut up. Who cares? Right? You go to Old Trafford once a year. You work 2 jobs all year round, so you have the money to fly when you do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you're seriously just shut up. No one cares.
It sounds really bad and arrogant, but I can see where they're coming from.
Can I be honest? I do agree. I do see your point, Nathan.
In my point, obviously, where my season ticket is on the Canton, I wouldn't want any, not to be really snobby or anything, I wouldn't want any tourist fan or some just neutral in the Canton end.
But I think there's a contextual difference, Nathan. I completely agree with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not being hypocritical where I agree with you, but I also say the complete opposite. There is a contextual difference. Yeah. This is someone who lives in Norway and follows United every week, does what Reece does pretty much. Just doesn't shout in a camera all week moaning and complaining. So, yeah, I do know it. I'm touching a fine surface here with that, but my
please keep going, because it's my issue generally with season ticket holders. Their perceived arrogance is fucking disgusting.
Because let me give you an example. There will be season ticket holders who go to the matches regularly, who call for all sorts of who just either have rubbish football opinions, or clearly when they speak and when they talk about the club, they don't seem to understand the club's tradition and history and philosophy of the football club.
I love that when they use that against you.
And I think it's ridiculous, because I think it's kind of like saying your opinions of ball knowledge should define, almost whether you're a true fan or not. I don't like this constant kind of
argument.
You're not a true fan because of this. Brother, you probably had no idea who we were signing in the summer, and you probably don't know how to pronounce half their names.
It's true.
I had a fucking argument on the exact
same
thing you said the other
day.
No
one should feel more entitled. That's what I'm trying to say. No one should feel more entitled.
The thing is, with certain ones, I wouldn't say it's entitled. Like with those sort of fans, I would be happy. This is just me speaking on a Cardiff perspective, but obviously we don't sell out every week, so they can go anywhere as far as I'm concerned. I would rather them go in the Ninian stand and obviously do all the touristy bits, take photos, say how amazing it is, see the great atmosphere. But on the other hand, I'd rather the area in the cantons where there's the same people every week, constantly chanting, just literally phones in pockets, not touched for ages, just ridiculous atmosphere. I don't know whether that's me being snobby or not, but it's just sort of like protecting these singing sections and keeping them as loud and
do you know what it is, Nathan?
As possible.
It's a grey area.
It is.
We're both right, and somewhere in between our point is fact
What
of
I'm
the
about to
matter.
The
say.
context, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is
Ironically,
it comes down to a lot of context, and there won't be
Yeah.
enough airtime to go through it without hurting someone's opinion, hurting someone's feelings, and whatever. Because
You've got. So let me just say it this way, right? You've
Mhm.
got black, white. Now I'm going to fill in the purple.
Yeah.
So you've got on one hand, you've got the preference of who should be in there because it feels right as a season ticket holder. Whereas on the flip side, you've got any fan should be allowed into the stadium, provided they actually are a fan and they're enjoying themselves, they're not causing any harm. The purple area is literally the echelon of you've got to make sure that you're not disassociating from an actual fan to the casual to someone who's actually profiting. And that's right in the middle of all three. That's the purple area. But the worst thing is literally what Julio just mentioned about match-going fans that use their divine right of this is the club's way of thinking, this is the club's history, this is the club's perceived way of business. Well, I had this exact same argument at work 10 days ago about another Man United fan at work who I nearly punched at work. But like, that's just how bad it was. He was just pissing me off. But he was pissing me off because what he was saying was so untrue. Like, he was saying that, like, he was trying to dictate the right that the only fans that matter are for any opinion on the club or any opinion on the matter should be just season ticket match going fans. And I'm like, no, because I've been a fan all my life. I know I've only been to one Man United game, but I've been to a game that still holds testament to me. It matters. I went to Man United versus Liverpool at the very start of this year. But there is no... I don't believe in a divine right that a season ticket holder is a greater fan than a non-match going fan. Yes, I will say their loyalty is different.
They're just and they're privileged as well.
Absolutely.
Because they're in a financial position to be on a list for 10 years, for instance, and finally get that season ticket. That's fine. I've got nothing against that. Do you know what I mean?
have nothing against that either, because I commend it really well. But what I'm against is the fact that if they claim like some sort of third rank, or sorry, actually no, excuse me, my German, third Reich of superiority, but literally there is no divine right for any fan to claim they are a greater fan than the other. So for example,
I agree.
For me, for example, 27-year-old male Man United fan since 1999, Maisie was born in Manchester. I have no divine right to tell her I'm a greater fan than her. As an example, Julio stays in Northampton. I feel sorry for him. I've got no divine right to say to Nathan I'm a greater Man United fan than him. Same with Doug. He's not a dick. He's not going to go to say to a Liverpool fan I'm a greater Liverpool fan than you. You know what I mean? He's going to say he's going to say he is a Liverpool fan, just like I'm going to say I'm a Man United fan, or Nathan's going to say he's a Cardiff fan.
Yeah.
All opinions actually do matter, but once you start actively branding the club in a way that it actually is fundamentally not true, your opinion on the club becomes zero.
Yeah.
Like that, at that point, your opinion becomes absolute null and void. Like, I don't like when match-going fans from Manchester belittle fans from India, saying their opinion doesn't matter because they have to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm sorry, but they live a full day's worth away. Like,
only in an argument as well, by the way. If someone they know is in the exact same context, they'll praise them. They'll praise them and talk about how it's amazing and how they're committed and everything. And if they argue with someone with a similar kind of background, the same kind of circumstances, they will throw that against them.
It's pure destruction. International.
Yeah.
Like, I had someone attack. I defended a match-going fan from an international fan a couple of days ago, but that's because they were saying match-going fans are a huge problem, and I went, well, yeah, I know. Like, match-going fans are a problem because they've committed money to the Glazers for all these years. But if they didn't,
but then again, though, if they didn't,
what happens to the players? What happens to the team? The team suffers because the fans aren't there.
And for the larger clubs as well, or clubs with like Brentford and stuff and Bournemouth, you don't go, you lose your season tickets.
Exactly.
And then you're back at the back of the waiting list.
Exactly. If you're a season ticket holder and you don't go to a game and you don't go for a certain amount of games, it gets flagged on a system.
Yeah.
Why are you not going to these games? Why are you not here?
Not to mention, well,
you can't be ill 5 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? And prove it. It's hard.
Yeah.
They'll strip it away from you. So like they are a problem, but also not the problem. There's so many other things.
No.
But they are definitely a problem in terms of supporting them constantly when there should be better. Like Maisie was spot on. That comment Maisie put in the chat earlier on. Where is it? It's the comment from 10:15. Like, what's the point? It's about the protest at the weekend. But Maisie's spot on. One comment, like, what's the point in protesting? Then say, yeah, let's buy a ticket and watch the game. The club's profited.
Yeah.
Bang on. That is exposing the problem of the fan, but it's also exposing the issue of the club itself.
Yes.
It's been caused by the owner. The fans are having... No fan should ever have to protest or boycott their club.
No.
Absolutely.
That is the saddest part of football, when you have to protest your own club.
Like all of us, we nearly gave up our season tickets. Back in 2015?
We were ready to walk away because of the Super League, remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
It was horrible. I'd never want to go through that again.
I know.
Ridiculous.
It was a fun couple of days.
It was horrible.
Like the night it fell apart.
I'm glad it fell apart because we done like a 2-hour stream.
If only I was on YouTube, I'd just be going on the piss on stream.
Oh, you would.
All the originals, all the original members of this podcast were on the stream, utterly confused.
It was such a mad stream, though, wasn't it?
Oh,
it
yeah,
just
like
ended.
3 hours. We didn't know what to say. But that is the problem.
But
fans are a direct consequence of bad decisions, and they have to react in such a way that they're either right or wrong, or they get punished.
Absolutely. Like that's the thing. How lucky you guys got as well. The fact that it just fizzled out overnight for you guys. We had to fight this for years, and we had to go like extremely major, saying to Vincent Tan, like in the boards, right, if you don't do this by the end of the season, our season tickets are being handed in. We're not going in. We're not going to support anymore.
And they'll block the doors from home fans getting in.
Yeah, and we just said, no, we're not funding it. No season tickets, nothing. Like
exactly.
That's the hardest thing. Not being like Blackpool had the same with us as well when all their fans got banned. Pretty much. Imagine not being able to see a team.
I know.
And having to resort to that, you know? And we had to do it.
It's dangerous. And that is certainly something that we want people who watch our shows just to think about going forward. If you are a match-going fan or you're an armchair fan, you're not second-rate to anyone. But if you start acting second-rate, then you're going to be second-rate.
100%.
So think about that as we close tonight's show. And it has been fun. We've gone a little bit over what we were intending to do. We were only going to do 2 hours. We went 2 hours 20. I'm happy with that. Well, 2 hours 22, sorry. But next week, Julio's back in the host role. He says he's got a concept. No clue what that means. He's probably going to come in with no beard. But eager to find out what he's got in store for us. So we're not going to ask him. He'll tell us next week because he will be finding out. He will be hosting on time. But unless he decides, actually, lads, I can't do it this time, we'll do it slightly later, then we'll actually turn up on time for that. So if we have to do it at 8:30 next week, we'll do it at 8:30. But, gentlemen, closing comments before we leave tonight?
Sign a manager. Cardiff.
I'll tell you lads off stream what the concept is, because then you can get your own examples prepared as well.
Interesting. Very well. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, it's a Survivor Series for you. It's a Survivor Series from me. But in the meantime, goodbye. See you later. And we'll be back next week. Enjoy your week. Man United, don't lose to Bodo Glimt.
Live on YouTube. And listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football Podcast.